I'm John Wentz, Bay Area artist. What I like in art, like what drives me to make art, is the simple question of why do we make art? You know, I'm amazed. Like my favorite paintings in the world are cave paintings, and I could look at them forever. Just there's so much you can think about, and the biggest thing is the why. Like making art is part and parcel to the human condition. That's why I make art. So anything that I make, I want it. I'm hoping to have that universal quality into it. And I also admittedly struggle because, like it or not, when you start getting into that realm, you're making propaganda. Whether or not you're on the right side or the wrong side, it is propaganda. And I don't know how personally I sit with that. There's great artists that do it, like Savoir-Faire is a great example. I think he does it great. I think it's great art. Me personally, that's not, I think, where my heart is. And then there's a question everybody debates, is it art then if you do that? I think anything can be art. There's no grand jury that names it art or says it isn't art. Yeah, I've always joked that like painting's a monastic lifestyle. You're like a monk, and and I think everybody I know experiences that. But being that I also remember painting before the internet, it's easier now. It's easier and harder. Because if you're getting lonely, you have social media that makes you feel less lonely. You have the internet. But that can get addictive as well. And then you spend less time painting. I like to paint with people every now and again, but you don't get that work done. But loneliness is a part of it. Mm-hmm. I think you kind of artists have to live on that extreme of you spend so much time alone painting, and then you have that extreme one night of your opening of your show, where it all kind of pays off, and then maybe you'll get some coverage in a magazine. So it's like the contrast is set to extremes, and that's just the thing you have to get used to. For me now, where I'm at now, color is definitely the emotion in the painting. And I've also gotten to a point where in the last couple of years, because the way I was trained was a very like the mimetic method of more or less just painting what you see. So your colors were accurate. You may saturate them a little bit or something like that. But the last couple of years, like a lot of times I'll paint from memory or from a black and white photo and kind of just make up the colors. And a lot of it, I think, stemmed from the painter Antonio Lopez Garcia. I read something with him. He was talking about in the difference of mediums, but it applies to painting because he was saying with drawing, where it's achromatic, black and white, it's a more psychological effect. And that is, I think, it's kind of what I brought, or has come to color with me, is that because I'll paint monochrome, and to me it feels that way, more psychological. So now color has become the emotional part of it. There's that emotional relationship to it. So trying to convey a certain feeling. I think, I don't want to say color is the only way you can do that, but I think it's the strongest way you can do that. So that's kind of where I've arrived at with using color. Which was tough, because again, the way I was trained, where I went to school, it was years of trying to accurately mix what you saw. So funny enough, and it makes sense, what first broke me out of that was seeing Mark Rothko's work in person, which actually makes perfect sense, because there was absolutely nothing there to recognize. It was just color fields. And then I started realizing the power of color. And then it was with looking at Garcia's work and listening to him that you can have control over that and actually change things. I would just take snapshots of people and paint them. And then it's, how do you paint anything meaningful without knowing that person a little bit? I think you have to spend a little bit of time talking to somebody and getting to know them. Like I learned something in school that was never paint people that you're close to, but it was from a technical standpoint, because they'll sit there and go, that's not my nose, that's not my eye. But I think it's best to paint people you know, because then there's a story and a relationship that you can kind of put into the work that wouldn't be there otherwise. It seems like every artist should go to Paris and work there for a bit. So much history there. But it's the city that I'm mostly interested in. I love that energy that you get from a city. It almost, like New York, is very similar in that it feels like its own organism. It's like its own living, breathing thing that you can kind of feed off. And there's so much inspiration. In Paris in general, so much culture, so much rich art history there, that it's such a palpable atmosphere. You know, it's very thick. You can feel it. The thing that's interesting too is the passion that they have, the Parisians have. It's a different. It's no less, no more. It's just different than I'm used to seeing people here in the U.S. It's just very French. I don't know how to explain it. It's refreshing. It's really refreshing. I really enjoy it. It's the best time to be an artist, because we're past movements and we're past manifestos, and you can literally paint whatever you want right now, and there'll be an audience for it. It's a great thing. But yeah, I think that friction does a lot. I think friction is good art.